And we are streaming. Okay, man, technology is making it happen here. Hooray.
Amazing.
Amazing. So I'm gonna just welcome people here. We're zooming live, and for all that are catching this live, I'm so excited to share this time with Kelly, who has been a part of our concussion program. And if we haven't met, my name is for everybody else out there, Kelly and I have met, but my name is Julie Hirschberg. I'm a neurologic physical therapist and the owner and founder of Re+active Therapy and Wellness. And our concussion program director, Dr. Brittany Trelay, actually connected me with Kelly after she did a program with us to just talk about her experience. I also have just already learned a lot from her, just from our email exchanges. And as usual, I think I do more of the learning than anybody around here. I learned a lot from you all. So let me just make sure everything is all good. Yeah, we are good, and we've got folks tuning in live. So Kelly, I'll have you introduce yourself and share some of your story and how you got connected to Re+active.
Sure. Hi. So, my name's Kelly, and I am a mom of three, and I have a job and husband and a busy life. And then in November of 2021, I hit my head on the towel rack. I really didn't think much of it because, I've hit my head before. But on Monday, when I went back to work, I looked at the screen and I thought, I can't do my job. I didn't know what was going on, but I just realized my headache, I just couldn't process. And I became more sensitive to light and to sound. So I went to the doctor and, she said, okay, it looks like you have a concussion, just wait a week, maybe wait 2 weeks. And I was doing that. And I was waiting and waiting. And in the process, rather than getting better, I at night was needing to have my husband take care of the kids, put them down at night because it was just too loud. I was very, very sensitive to sound and to light. All the lights were turning on and off. And I was like, and it was disturbing my sleep. I was getting very, very anxious about hitting my head again. And just all of these things were coming up that were, my life I was a normal, I mean, everyone's, as normal as you get, very typical life, to really feeling like my life has been upended. And the doctors kept on saying, well, you're going to get better next week or next week, or maybe this is related to the COVID you had, things like that. So, long story short, the way that I found my way to you guys is I had a friend of a friend who recommended Concussion Compass, which is right now it's sort of on pause. But Molly Parker and Natasha Wiltz created it, and it was an amazing resource. And part of the thing that they had was speakers. And so your very own Brittany Charlet spoke about PPPD. It's a type of dizziness. And when she talked, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if that's me, but what she's talking about are the sensations that I'm having. And then when she described what you guys do, she talked about this like bomb delicious pie, where we don't just look at, your dizziness or your eye issues or your balance issues, but we're looking at you as a person. It just hit me. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, this injury has impacted my life in all these different ways, and it called to me. And that was 5 months into my journey.
Mm,
I had found an amazing physical therapist. She was great, but she focused on the vestibular stuff and some
mm,
planning and pacing. But, you know, I saw her once a week and she didn't, meet up with my therapist who, I
mm.
spoke to every couple of weeks who didn't really specialize in this. So I just felt like there's something missing. What am I missing? And then I went to that talk with Brittany and I was like, I felt like there it is. Like there's something there that's going to help me sort of close these gaps.
Yeah, yeah, really well said. And I like wanted to write down the bomb delicious pie. Like that sounded fantastic. I mean, I love our pie chart and this integrated approach. And it sounds like you actually had some working pieces of the pie. They just weren't necessarily working like together, integrating those those pieces together for you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And that's
Exactly. And,
very
and the
common.
funny thing was, I think with my physical therapist, I told her, I said, I just feel like something's missing. And she sort of knew that I needed to keep on looking. I'm a researcher. I'm used to
Oh,
figuring things out. And this was like the first time I couldn't go online. I couldn't talk to people. I couldn't do all of those things that I would normally do when I was sick, when my kids were sick. So she
mhm.
was like, okay, you can go out and check out all the options. So I checked all different places. And it was with you guys that I felt like I was going to I'd have a group of people looking at me rather than piecemeal and having to update everybody. And that
Mhm.
was the thing that was hard because my mind was not able to keep track of all these things. Just
Mhm.
cognitively, I didn't have the same memory and the same stamina. I just dealt with
Mhm.
fatigue and all those issues too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're totally right. And that's what I was gonna ask you. You mentioned a few really common post-concussion symptoms. You had the light, the sound sensitivity, the fatigue, the memory problem. It sounds like you were having some dizziness too
Yes.
with things. Yeah.
And the thing about that one that was weird was, so, it sort of got worse over time. And that was the thing that was getting me worried.
Mm.
Rather than getting better, I was becoming more dizzy and more nauseous. And so I started avoiding more things. I wouldn't
Um,
go to the store. I'd have my husband go. Or
mhm.
I wouldn't take a walk because it was just making me dizzy. So gradually
Mhm.
my world was getting smaller. And they kept on saying, well, you're going to it just give it time. And the things I was doing was actually, in retrospect, I realized making it worse in some ways, but I didn't know.
No. I mean, how else do you protect yourself? Like, you didn't know? Of course. And I think that's what most people would do. Of course you would. Um, and so you heard, I love Concussion Compass, by the way. Like, I hope something like that comes back. I think it was such a great resource and program. You came and worked with us for 2 weeks, right?
Yes,
In person, and you had the team. You had well, and maybe you could tell me a little bit about each of the people, the disciplines that you worked with, and something you kind of took home from each of them.
absolutely. Well, and it's funny because the way I sort of describe it is I felt like when I was down there, it was like I was enveloped in a big hug. Seriously, like, so there was Taylor and Kiana in the front. So they were just
Mhm,
so warm and welcoming. And then, of course, Brittany has this, I don't know, she's just positive and motivated and informative and is just like, go, you can do it. So, when I worked with her, a lot of the things that we did were, the we put this tape on the ground, and then
mhm,
with the light, and I would put my head up and down, working on
mhm.
my, what is it, proprioception,
Uh-huh.
where
Uh-huh.
my neck is in space. And just always very positive and just encouraging me to go a little bit further. And just so there's a whole bunch of exercises she encouraged me to do that I could very, very easily incorporate into my life. The B one is really great too, just going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and feeling the dizziness. So I'd say, it was Brittany, and Amy was amazing too. I remember when I was with Amy and doing this, at one point I started feeling like, oh, this feels really icky. And she said, you are safe, which was really huge for me too, because, and it's that mix of the physical, but also this emotional feeling like, am I doing more damage? Am I going to make myself worse?
Yeah.
So having somebody to really hold me and say, okay, let's take a break. We use the leaf. Amazing.
Oh, yeah. I love the leaf.
Amazing. That was huge. I took that with me way after this. I would use it on a regular basis, and it's been like life changing, just before I leave the car, taking a breath in and out for a minute, just amazing. And the leaf sort of helped me learn how when I feel that I'm fine, that I'm not, because it starts, the heart rate variability monitor is going beep, 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 while I'm doing the dishes, and I realize, oh, okay, I need to sort of stop and slow down. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off the point.
No, I love it.
Let's see. So occupational therapy, okay, Leanne and Jenna. And wow. So with that one, I think a real takeaway for me was trying to understand myself and what is calming and what is destabilizing. So I just did one, which is closing my eyes.
Yeah.
I can just feel my body rest.
Yeah.
Putting the lights down, putting, flowers, beautiful things around me, decluttering. And it sounds so simple. It sounds like things I should have known, from a young age, but it's almost like it took this injury for me to realize that this is not only key for my healing, but it's key for my family to feel that they're in a safe, warm environment. And it just makes us all be able to function at a more optimal level, So that I think was really huge. And then just looking at the calendar, building in time for being productive, and then taking breaks and prioritizing what are the things that are most important to me in the day. So for instance, if I don't have as much energy, when the kids come home, I'm going to use that time. So my kids are 8 and 12. I'm going to use that time to talk to them, throw the ball around. So I make sure I have that space, because that's a value for me, as opposed to trying to run around doing everything and then running out of time to do the things that are really important to me. So, okay, so that's occupational therapy. Andrea, we got to do the yoga, and she's incredible. Just going into that space of being with somebody who's an experienced practitioner and just taught me some basic movements that helped me ground myself, and that I could use in the course of maybe 5 minutes a couple times a day. Was really helpful. I mean, I certainly had done yoga in the past, but never in a way that like was a reset for me, and because she's worked with people with injuries like mine, I think it was that was really helpful, because when I would go online and look for, yoga videos, it was frequently they were doing poses that would really irritate my neck or my shoulders, or with my balance issues would, I'd just be nervous. But so she'd work on trying to gradually integrate, you know, some balance that felt safe and that would push me, but not too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
That
what was
is
the other one?
beautiful.
Oh, the neuropsych.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so that was with Lauren and Brandy. And I mean, again, that for me it was really like life changing because
Mhm.
I went from feeling like this was just a terrible moment in my life, and I'd never be the same person that I was, which
Mhm.
is true, you know, but also realizing like I am developing self understanding and um, um, perspectives and insights on what's important that I can take with me moving forward. Um, and I just was able to, they really helped me learn to notice my thoughts and question them. For instance, I'd say something
Mm.
like, well, if I can eventually do this again, and they'd say, when you can, you know,
Mm.
um, just these shifts. It's funny, your screen's going up and down a little bit, so I think I have to.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's probably like visually very distracting. You know what? I get so like in and I start resting my hand on my screen and it probably started tilting. So
It's okay,
sorry
no
about that, Kelly.
worries.
I have to like remember what I'm doing here as I'm
No.
you're so engaging and like I'm also trying to keep myself together because some of the things that you're sharing are the life changes you're experiencing are very moving to me. So I apologize if I'm tilting my screen, but they I'm also trying not to cry. So thank you.
Oh, that's so sweet. No, and that's the thing. The thing about it, like when I spoke to that both Lauren and Brandy, is when we were talking about these issues, I realized this is a gift. This is an opportunity for me to really look at the way I view myself and the world. And it's like this, they describe that image of the hands in front of your face, and these are your thoughts. And if your thoughts are, you know, right here, you can't see. You can't see the world, what's out there, and realizing how much of the way that, I live is like that. And how when you're recovering from, whatever injury or you're dealing with loss in life, how getting a little bit of space is so critical. And that's what they enabled me to do, to just to notice these thought patterns of just fear and wondering, like, what if I never get better, what if I can't, you know go to busy places or go to, social, you know music, music festivals or
Mm,
big dinners, and then having them sort of parse that out, like what's behind there, and can we look at that. I mean, it's just it's such a great gift, you know and then it enables you to get out of that rabbit hole. And it's not as if like my regular therapist, I'd see her every couple weeks. She was amazing, but dealing with people who focus on this, who focus on people who have had concussions and other neurological issues, they know some of the issues in a different way. Like the
mhm.
issues of going out in the world and looking fine, having people say, why aren't you doing this, and why aren't you doing
Yeah,
this, and those
yeah,
identity issues where they've dealt with
yeah,
so many people that they can connect with you in a way to reassure you that, like, you are not alone, you know.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's very. That's very true. I mean, I've been in enough of our integrated team meetings to hear that from all of our team members. And I mean, again, thank you so much. You shared so much, not just because your program was 2 weeks long, right? I feel like, wow, it sounds like you've been in like months and months with our team. You gained a lot from a short period of time that has impacted your life. It seems like kind of beyond this injury, but really taking perspective and a value orientation that I think most of us as humans are trying to do. So I think that's just really, really spectacular. Now, I wonder if you could also share like what you're doing now. You shared how you kind of really started avoiding things after the concussion and had a lot of sensitivities, and you've started to explain too, like how your life has changed. But what, where are you now? What are you doing now? What is different now than before?
So that's a good question. And it's funny because when I think of, so I came in August. So it's been a while and I
Yeah.
have improved. I've made major improvements, but I'm certainly not, back to where I was before.
Mhm.
Um, but what has been, I'd say, key is I feel like I'm here. Um, a lot of those practices that I learned there, the yoga, the leaf, um, the scheduling, the planning, and also the being more deliberate to not avoid things has enabled me to. I'm back in my life. I can pick up my kids. I can
Mhm.
work. I don't work as much as I would like, but part of
Mhm.
that is now I know I need to plan and pace. So I'm going to work for
Mm.
half an hour and then I'm going to take a break and work again.
Mm.
I can take hikes in the paths in the local park now,
Mm.
which before I was not able to do. It was too um, I would get dizzy and nauseous. But
Mm.
I realized after doing this work that I can do it and I'm safe, and then I stop and take a break, and over
Mm.
time it's it's gotten better and better. I mean,
Mm.
that's the thing, and I know it's time is a huge part of it too, but um I just feel like I'm back in my life and I have the
Mhm.
tools now so that when I do get really, because I still get tired, I can still get dizzy. I
Mhm.
I'm not afraid of it. I'm just like, okay, what am I going to
Yeah.
do now? Am I going to do some nostril breathing, or I'm going to, just breathe or do a little yoga, maybe talk to a friend, like
Yeah.
I'm more able to handle. I'm able to do more, and I'm also able to take care of myself in the midst of still healing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so like I just want to box up your words and repeat them. Because that is like the goals of our programs is it in neurologic disorders, it's not like 2 weeks and to die, it's a magic cure and everything is over. It's really like learning and creating those nervous system regulation tools and all of those other things that you've so brilliantly said, and then taking them on with you for the rest of your life. So you can continue this healing journey, which you have so wonderfully, but also go into uh new things and say, oh well, I have tools for this, and kind of keep gradually, like you said, maybe you're not working as much as you want to. So right, that I'm guessing that's a goal, and that you'll just keep kind of building up to getting there.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then gradually too, being able to do more things socially. I'm not going to a big, music festival, but I've added in going to little musical events, that are outside, going to restaurants and being outside, just slowly integrating things. But I think the key thing is I have more of a sense of okayness and almost a sense of that, like, yes, this is where I am right now, and that's good enough, and it's actually
Mhm.
beautiful, you know.
Mhm.
Just sitting outside and like listening to the birds, that is restorative for me. And the
Mm.
other thing is getting my family, like my kids and my friends, and talking to them about it. Since I did this, I literally talked to them about some of these principles, that I've
Ah, I love
learned.
that.
So it's like, it's, despite having it be this very sort of, traumatic event, it's also enabled me to grow in ways I would not have, had I not been through this experience and then, been down to see you guys.
Yeah, that's so great. So your kids are going to be doing grounding techniques and they're going to have all of these pieces, right? I didn't have that as a kid. My kids have been doing the 5 4 3 2 1. I don't know if that one was one of
Yes,
your. Yes.
yes, that's
So
great.
they've been doing that and I'm like, "Oh, this is so great." So
Wonderful.
rewarding. What I'm I know you found us through Concussion Compass. I'm curious for if you were, we share these videos with other providers, we share it with other potential patients. What was that thing that kind of like kicked you over the fence to join our program? And what might you tell somebody else who's like, I'm not sure. There's a lot of options for people after they've had a concussion. In fact, maybe it's like overload sometimes online if you're looking at potential things. What kind of tipped you over, and what would you tell other people?
I think the thing that tipped me over was, if going to a place that has professionals who specialize in neurological issues that are all under one roof and that are going to be talking to each other about you, um, if that's something that you feel like is missing in your care, I think that it's very hard to achieve if you're just reaching out and having all these different providers,
Mhm.
who don't communicate. Or in my case, I hadn't spoken with an occupational therapist or a yoga therapist,
Mm.
um, or a neuropsych per se. So it's I think it's a wonderful, like, one stop shop, and it compared. I mean, I chopped around. Compared to some places, it's more affordable than a lot of other places too,
Mm.
frankly, which is, amazing. I mean, you guys, I think, are able to, I mean, I can just tell that there's a service element to it. And I think that for a lot of people who are dealing with neurological issues, post concussion, emotional issues that come along, being in an environment that where you are held and you are seen, I think is so incredibly healing. I wish everybody who's experienced this can can find the type of providers that are at Re+active. I think I just want that, you know. I wish we could duplicate you guys all over the place. That's what's needed, and it's not there, you know. So I just would highly. It's more than just the therapy. It's looking at something from a larger perspective that's
Mm.
really sorely missing in
Mm.
a lot of providers, in a lot of places. They might know
Mm.
everything, but they're just not able to hold you in the way that I think is equally as important for it. If you're sort of more sensitive, anxious type of person, where you can quickly feel, the other people around you who are saying, it's fine, you're going to get better in time, or I don't know, maybe you're never going to be able to work again, like it, and I always felt like everybody there was really, cheering me on and seeing me and
Mhm.
my journey.
Mhm. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing, because I feel like, oh, that is exactly what we aim to be. And
Yeah.
we're trying to also continue to educate other providers about, you were sharing so many like deep pieces here, Kelly, of how important it is to see and be with the people that you care for. And sometimes, clinicians are like, well, I need this piece of equipment or I need this special trick or tool, which there are really great things out there. But I think our number one thing is what you've articulated so well, which is, and we're not talking that we're like holding and cradling you like this, but you're talking about it metaphorically,
Yes.
which is um, is so important. And I guess from that, the last question I have from you actually is for our clinicians. I send these videos out in my newsletter to them every Friday. So after we're done here, and what would you share with them about the care and the treatment for people post concussion?
I think, wow, I would just say, even for the patients you have who might seem depressed or angry or disengaged, you have an amazing effect on your patients. Very frequently, I think people with these neurological issues, I know post-concussion syndrome and I know others, you see your family and your friends, and most practitioners just don't understand, even if they want to, even if they're really loving and kind. So the fact that the therapists that we're talking about have chosen this field and have developed these skills and this understanding, it is the impact on the lives of the people that you work with is like, it's off the charts. It's life changing, and you have no idea what an impact you can have, not only in what you're teaching, but in the way that you see your patients. That is part of the healing process. And so I'm just so grateful, and I hope you can duplicate yourself again around the country and around the world, because we need more of you.
Yeah. Well, I think we need more Kellys in this world. Just the fact that you're taking what you've learned about yourself, you're bringing it to your family, to the world around you, to it says a lot about you, and that you're willing to come on and share this screen time with me too, even as I'm like getting emotional and shaking my own screen. I started noticing it and I was like, oh my gosh, I was only looking at your face and not mine. So thank you. I mean, truly from the bottom of my heart, thank you. It's such, again, I always say this, but I learned so much in these just 30 minutes that we shared here, probably than I have all week and in so many courses I've ever taken. So thank you for sharing yourself with me, with the people we share these videos with too. And we'll stay in touch. I'm excited to see what you continue to learn and do as you're on this journey.
Thank you so much, Julie. I'm just so grateful for you creating this, and for everybody who works at Re+active. And just keep on doing your great work.
Oh,
Pass
thank you
it on
so
to
much.
others too.
You will. All right. Have a great rest of your Friday, Kelly. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.